of Sweater Weather Knits. I'm Emily. Thanks for joining me. Also, thank you for your patience as I try to figure out the lighting situation for this podcast. I don't have great light. I'm in my craft room, sewing room, and I don't have great light in here. All I have is an overhead light. So I've been trying to experiment with like different bulbs and different setups. So I really appreciate the patience with me trying to figure it out. And I hope that I tried new light bulbs for this one and I'm hoping that they're not too shadowy, but let me know if they are. So in today's episode, I have lots of finished objects to show you. I have some new yarn. I have a new WIP. Do you say whip or WIP? I don't know, whatever. So yeah, let's get to it. So first, I'll go through my knitting projects. I really only have one new work in progress on my needles. I've finished a couple things lately, and I'll talk about those next. So I started the Blaze shawl, which is the new Amba O'Brien shawl, which is really fun. I've been waiting for it to come out because it's just one of those projects that looks super fun from all the testers, and I tend to stock test threads more than I actually test knit. So it's a like an elongated triangular shawl that you're knitting from tip to tip with like increasing and then going in the middle and then decreasing. So and you are doing slip stitches the whole time. So it's more interesting than stockinette, but not so difficult that I have to like pay attention while I watch TV or anything like that. It's not a whole lot of counting, just kind of keeping track of where you are. So I decided that this would be my fall shawl. A few years ago, 2 years ago, I bought all of the Plucky Knitter quintessential fall palette skeins, or most of them, and they only didn't have primo fingering in stock. They didn't have feet in stock, so I had to splurge on bellow fingering, which is a lot of money. It's like $36 a skein. It's a lot. I don't normally buy that because of that. But it's also like, it's a pretty high content of cashmere. I think it's like 45% cashmere. So it's soft. It's super, it's great. It's just expensive. It's usually out of my budget. But I splurged because it was my birthday and I just had Liesel and I was like, I need to treat myself. So the nice thing of that is this is now my third shawl I've made out of those same skeins. They're like the skeins that won't end, which is great if I'm spending that much. I made a Melanie Berg on the Spice Market shawl, and I've also made a Melanie Berg for the Love of Spiders shawl. I did one the first year, one the next year, and then I was planning on doing a Melanie Berg Solaris shawl, just thinking like, okay, this is a theme. It's my fall Melanie Berg shawl every year. But then I thought like, oh, this would be absolutely gorgeous as kind of a rainbow fall shawl. So, and I'll post the other shawls I've made with them in my notes for this blog or for this podcast episode. So anyway, getting to the knitting project. So I'm using the fall colors and I'm going in color order, and I have a Plucky, this is high cotton. It's kind of a real neutral gray, like a mid-tone gray. Hold on, my cat just jumped up in front of my camera, and I think he's going to mess things up. Okay. Anyway, so I started with red, which actually, this one is not part of the fall palette. This is, and it's not even fingering, it's Primo Sport in Kilt, which is one of their Scottish colors. But I had it, let me see if I can get it to focus. I had it in my stash and I didn't want to, it was already caked up. I made Liesel's winter hat and mitts out of it this year. So I already had it caked. I just had a couple scraps. I didn't need a whole lot of it. And I just didn't feel like caking up a whole new fresh skein for like 40 yards. It didn't make sense to me. So I just grabbed this and it works really well. And then we have Pumpkin Patch is the orange. And then Corn Maze is the yellow. See if I can get that a little bit more accurate. So you can see it's starting to like become a rainbow. And then let me go to the next color. So then this is Park Service, like a Kelly green. Gosh, it is causing a shadow. Oh, I am so sorry. And then we have Waders, which is like this really pretty clear teal blue. Trying to do the color order in my head. And then this last one is Yodel, and it is purple. So I will do every color until I meet the middle, and then in her pattern you're supposed to start over with CC1, but I think I'm just going to do like reverse color order on the way back. So excuse me, there will be a big purple triangle in the middle, and then it'll start working its way back to red on the opposite tip. So I'm excited about that. It's moving pretty quickly. I mean, it is just mindless slip stitch knitting, which is super fun. I love slip stitches. I think that they're really fun. They create a really great texture. I was knitting it in Nick's office the other night while he was listening to music, and I was like, oh, look at how fun this is working up. And he just didn't, like, he was like, how does that work? And I said, well, it just does. And I kind of like knitted it for him and showed him how I was doing the slip stitches and how the pattern worked. And he was like, I don't get it. Okay, well, you don't have to get it. It works. Just know that it does, and it's fun. I really love mosaic knitting, and I love slip stitches, so I think it's going to be a fun texture. It's not going to be a huge shawl, which is fine, but it'll be a good size to just kind of throw on over a sweater or something. And then I'm thinking, she does, I think, 3 tassels in the pattern. I'm going to do just 1 in the middle, I think. We'll see what color I have enough of left over, too, because I hate to waste like 45% cashmere on tassels. So we'll see. So that is really the only new kind of in progress project I have going on right now. I am trying to decide what I want to cast on next as my weekend project. I'm not really sure. I'm having a lot of trouble trying to figure out, like, do I want to do another small project? Do I want to get started on Christmas presents, which I don't have a ton of Christmas presents to make. My family, we don't really exchange. Nobody really cares about knitted things in my family. So if we want anything, we'll usually do gift cards because we're boring. We also don't need anything. So we'll buy for the babies. Lisa will get a present. My new nephew will get a present. And that's about it. But yeah, and Lisa she has tons of sweaters. I mean, I want to make more, but there's no shortage of those right now. And then she has her hat. She has her mitts. Nick doesn't want anything. I have a ton of stuff. So I have a couple presents that I want to make for coworkers, like mitts, just small things, and I'm trying to decide, do I want to cast those on now and get them out of the way? Do I want to do something for myself? I don't know. I'm trying to decide. If you have any ideas on what I should cast on next, please let me know. But I would love to do another sweater, but I am slogging through Humulus, and I actually sat and asked myself the other day, like, do I just need to frog this? Because I am not getting anywhere with it. I don't want to pick it up. It's boring. I'm about halfway through the body. I think I'm at like 5.5 or 6 inches of the body. So I have halfway more to go, and then I have 2 sleeves. And it's not nothing. But part of me thinks I should just continue with that. But that's not fun, right? If it's not fun, I shouldn't be doing it. We'll see. I might let that sit a little bit longer. But I'm trying to decide. I've had a shawl idea kind of percolating for a little while. And it would have cables, and I watched it the other day just on some random yarn, just trying to figure out, okay, how do I construct this? Because I don't design. I've never wanted to design at all. So, like, it's really intimidating to me to think, oh, well, maybe I should try designing. Ooh, scary. So I tried to swatch it out the other day, and it did not work out well. So I think I need to do a little bit more research and figure out exactly how I can do this. And I don't even know if I would offer it as a pattern, but if I did, I should probably think about that now, right? Like, I shouldn't make it extremely difficult for myself in case I do want to turn it into a pattern. And then it would be difficult for everybody else, and nobody would make it, which would be sad. But this is ultimately the yarn I want to use for it, which is House of Alamode's DK, which is her best base by far. If you're ever looking for a DK yarn, I haven't used her solids. They're beautiful. I just haven't bought them. But a DK Speckly, go with hers because it is a wonderful base. And this I bought last year. It's a Stardust collection in Harvest. And I have 3 skeins of it. This is just one. This is the first one I found, so I just grabbed it. Let's see if I can get that to kind of focus on those speckles. It is beautiful. So fall. So pretty. So I'd like to ultimately make it in this yarn, but I don't want to cast on with it right away and try to figure it out as I go. So I need to do a little bit more planning. I just bought yesterday at Joann, Nora Gogan. I'm sorry, I am messing up her name terribly. But the Knitted Cable source book, it was 40% off with a coupon. So go do that. It was cheaper than Amazon and 5 minutes away versus waiting 2 days. I'm all about that instant gratification. So I bought that yesterday. Things have been really busy around here and I haven't had a chance to sit down and look at it yet. But it looks beautiful. So maybe I'll dive into that, try to figure out what I'm doing, and then cast on. I also wanted to make one of the Melanie Berg shawls, a Spark of Gray, which has like mosaic. It's a triangular shawl, and it has like a mosaic knitting design, and then kind of a roughly ribbed edge, and it uses 2 skeins. I think she calls for either sport or fingering, but I have 2 skeins of fingering I would use, which is this plucky, kind of dark plum in loafers. This is Primo fingering, which is my favorite base of theirs. And then Miss Babs. Ooh, I don't know what this is. I think it's Yummy 2-ply. I could be wrong. I'll link to my stash in the notes. But it's Fall in the Park, which is a really old color, really old Babette from probably 5 years ago. And I was thinking together they might be fun. It's sometimes hard for me. I like high contrast, but it's sometimes hard for me to choose yarns that'll work together, especially when it's only 2 colors, because I want them to work together, and I usually want them to, like, I'm usually working with a speckle or a variegated, and I like them to coordinate pretty well. I'm not into like crazy color combinations, but like then I like, for instance, these should work together pretty well, but then I look at like, well, this has some dark spots. Is it going to be too close to this? I don't know. I guess all I can do is work with it and see if it works. But I feel like I run into that a lot where it's like, oh, I should have picked a different solid that maybe had a little bit more contrast instead of coordination. I tend to do that to myself. So, because I just want it to work out really well. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to make next. If you have any worsted weight mitt patterns that you really love, send them my way, because I feel like I have reached the ends of the Ravelry pattern search, and I am just kind of at the point where I'm like, I've seen too many patterns. I have no idea what to make my coworkers. And I have really beautiful, I have a few skeins of Sweet Fibers Cashmerino DK, or not DK, Cashmerino 20 worsted. I have some plucky set aside. I have some fun, like deep stash, good worsteds that I can use. I just don't know what to make them. I'd like something simple, not necessarily simple for me to knit, but I don't want them to look at it and be like, whoa, this is crazy, because non-knitters don't get it. I can make my knitting friends really fun, interesting things with really fun yarn. Non-knitters, I've noticed, tend to like gray with maybe a cable, but that's not fun to knit. So if there's anything, like if you have a go-to gift pattern, please send it my way, because I'm still trying to figure that out. So those are my works in progress and possible new projects. Who knows what this weekend will bring. So I have a couple FOs to show you too. The first is the Kennicott hat pattern by Caitlin Hunter, and it has a wickerwork pattern that you can kind of see in this yarn, kind of not. The pattern, I mean, the yarn is very variegated. It's Cabin in House of Alamo DK, but it's so pretty. Let me see if I can get it. It's super dark. It's like absorbing every bit of light I give it. It's really pretty though, and it looks like leaves in a puddle, and it's just so pretty. I loved working with it. It used about half a skein, so I still have a skein and a half left, and I plan on pairing it. I bought the Guthrie kit that House of Alamode and Republic of Wool were offering, and this is Cabin, and I think it came with What the Duck, which is a really pretty like light complementary color to it. And I'd like to make a shawl with it. Maybe that'll be my cast on this weekend, because I was thinking of the Lavella shawl from Amba. I was thinking of making that with it, because I think it'd be really pretty in some stripes. So yeah, I have, gosh, it is just like soaking up all the light. It's really pretty. I'll post a link to my project page, but I love like these little just crazy bits of color. So this is actually a gift for a friend. I need to weave in the ends, and then I can get that out to her. And then I also finished my Cody Koss. Let me stand up so you guys can see. So it's not as big as I thought it would be. I finished it and I was like, wait, that's it? What? It's super pretty though, and I did crazy pom-poms at the ends. So again, this is Farmer's Daughter Fibers in Juicy DK in 4 different colors. Let me see. Paul Newman is the dark color. Eagle Eye is the yellow. And then Patsy and Honky Tonkin. Couldn't tell you which one's which, but they're the pinks. So here's a close-up of the first chart. I really love the shawl, even though it's not as big as I expected. It's a good size. I mean, I'm 5'4", so I don't want something like that. What, the fade shawl? That's huge. That's too big for me. But that's not a bad size, right? Oh gosh, my floor is very messy. Don't look. So that's not a bad size. How do you like hearing from a head that's not on screen? I love the poms. I had forgotten how much yarn pom-poms take. It's a lot. Let me sit back down. I used that darker pink color for them, and I had almost a full skein. I had maybe used like 15 yards of it for this. And I mean, I have like a half skein left. It used a lot of yarn to make the pom-poms, and I used my large size clover. I think I have an extra large and a large, and I went back and forth, but ultimately I went with the large, and I think it's the perfect size. I could have gone bigger. Why not? But I think the large is a pretty good size if you're just looking for like a basic pom-pom. Oh, and then my floats. I should probably show my floats too. I did not enjoy knitting color work flat. I love that new Andrea Mowry pattern. I think it's called the Throwback. It's her new sweater. It's her Rhinebeck sweater. I love it. It's beautiful. I love the yoke. I love the idea of it. I will not knit flat color work again. My God. My hands were just like, what are you doing to us? What's happening? How do I hold yarn? What is knitting? They did not get it at all. I kept trying to maybe I'll get into a groove with it. I just never did, and I dreaded those charts. Even though I love how the charts turned out, they're beautiful. But I just didn't want anything more to do with it. Yeah, no more flat color work. But no steeking either, because that scares me. I guess it just scares me because I've never done it. It's not a big deal overall. So anyway, this is going to Rhinebeck with me. Lindsay and Morgan will be, well, I think Morgan's knitting hers. Lindsay's is done. And then we will be wearing them at Rhinebeck. So if you see me, say hello. Okay, so those are my knitting FOs. I have 2 FOs this week, which is pretty exciting. I don't know the last time I had 2 in 1 week. I also finished the Jones sweater. Look at me being all relaxed. I finished the Jones sweater and gifted it to my brother and my sister-in-law. Oh, when was that? Last weekend or the weekend before? It was the weekend before. Because last weekend Nick worked. And they loved it, which I was really, really glad. My nephew's still not here. Hopefully he will be soon. His due date was yesterday, and I know we're all very anxious to meet him. Hopefully it'll be this weekend because it's a long weekend and we can spend as much time as we can with him. They loved it though. They loved the Bumble hat, and I gifted them the Tall, Dark, and Handsome hat. I made them 2, which turned out way too big. I don't think I talked about it. I think this was before I started the podcast, but it just turned out huge, and I don't know why, because I followed and I had gauge. It was just big. So now he has a baby hat and a toddler hat. We didn't have big heads in this family. We're big-headed people. So he'll probably be able to wear it sooner than later, actually. So those are my projects, but I do have new yarn. I ordered from Plucky in July, I think. I think it was July. And I wasn't really ordering with anything in mind. I have a lot of Plucky in my stash. I love Plucky. But I haven't been ordering much lately just because I have so much yarn that I kind of feel like I need to work through it a little bit. But they were having a sale. They discontinued Sweater Erin and Sweater, which is so sad because I love Sweater. It's a great DK yarn. It works really well. It wears really well. I use it for a lot of Liesel's clothes. I've used it for me before, and I'm so sad to see it go. I hope that they bring something else not too expensive. I love cashmere, but I don't need everything to be cashmere, and Sweater was a really good option for I want to make Liesel a sweater, or I want just a really hard wearing DK yarn. So it's going to be missed. But Anyway, so they had Sweater and Sweater Aran on sale since it's discontinued. So I bought a skein of Sweater Aran in Wintry Mix, which is just kind of a tonal, cool white. I have it on another base too, and I just think it's a really pretty neutral, just a basic. It's an Aran weight, 185 yards, 95% merino, 5% nylon, which is probably why it wears so well. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. I just picked it up kind of, don't have any Sweater Aran in my stash, and I just thought, well, now's the time to try it. It's $18. It's a good deal, and I can use it for mitts, or like a pair of antler mitts by Tin Can Knits would be really cute in it, or a hat, or it'll just be good to have in my stash in case I need something. So I bought that, and then I also bought 2 skeins of Trusty Fingering, and I think this was the Red and Aquas update. That's what it was. So this is Roasted Pumpkin, which I expected to be a little bit more orange. It is a deep, like oxblood color on Trusty Fingering, which is 100% merino. It's 375 yards. I use a lot of Trusty because it's another great option for Liesl sweaters. It's just merino and it's affordable. I think they raised the price to $21 for 250 yards of Trusty. It's a worsted weight. But I've never tried Trusty Fingering. And actually, I'm really surprised at how soft it is compared to regular Trusty. Trusty, the worsted weight is, it definitely has like a little bit of a tooth to it, and it's great for color work. I just knit a color work sweater in it a couple months ago, and it worked really well. And it softens up after you block usually, but this one is definitely softer. I like how it's plied. I don't know if you can see it. And it's not a bad price. I think this is, oh, I don't want to lie. I want to say $23, but I'll double check and post it in the notes. So that's Roasted Pumpkin, and then I also bought Gingham, which is a more like pink, red, bright color. I don't really know what I'll do with it because this is a little outside my realm, but it's actually one of my mom's favorite colors. So maybe I'll see if I can make something for her with it. But this was purely for testing. I hadn't tried either one of these bases. I didn't have those red colors in my stash, and so I thought, oh, I'll pick some up, try something new. So those came this week, and they've just been sitting and waiting to go into my stash. No plans for them yet, but their time will come. I destashed a little bit last week because I wanted to join the Woolberry Fiber Fall Club. All you got to do is say fall, and I'm like, yep, I'm in. So I signed up for her 3-month club, and I think the first game ships in September, October, November. It's 3 different bases. I don't know, I can't remember what the bases are, but I know that one of them is a surprise. I'm really hoping it's not mohair. I was telling my friend Lindsay, every time I knit with mohair, I sneeze like crazy. I just can't handle the fibers. And I don't love knitting with mohair. I'll do it, and I've definitely knit with it in the past, but it just makes me too sneezy. So I'm hoping it's definitely more usable bases like that. But I'm excited to see what we're going to get and what the colors end up looking like. I have a little bit of her yarn in my stash, not a ton, but I would like to get more. And I was looking at Lindsay's Gilmore Girl Club colors. She sent me pictures of them, and yeah, they're just beautiful. So I'm really excited to see what she comes up with for fall. And then I also signed up for 1 month of the Ritual Dyes fall. I think it's just Autumn in the City is the theme. I'm hoping that she'll open up 1 and 2 month subscriptions for October and November too. I just couldn't justify doing 2 3-month subscriptions in 1 week. That was a little much. I would have a hard time justifying that. So I decided to do 1 month, and I will get September's, and then if I love October and November's, I really hope she opens up the 1 and 2 month subscriptions then, so I can get those as well. So should I show those on the podcast? Is it a spoiler? I'm all for spoilers. It never bothers me to learn a spoiler. So I'm hoping you guys don't mind either, and I can show them off when they get here. But if you don't want to see them, just leave me a comment and let me know, and I'll keep them to myself. So I also have a couple sewing finished objects to show you. I took a break from making geranium dresses. I still have 2 more to make, but I've made 3, and I was like, I just need something else to do. So I cut out last weekend some hopscotch skirts. This is the Oliver Ness hopscotch skirt pattern for Liesl. This is a 3T, but I put in an extra wide hem. I think that the Oliver Ness patterns are just drafted for such a taller kid. than Liesl is. Even though she's average height, I feel like I have to always take up the patterns by like 2 or 3 inches because they're just so long on her. And I don't really want her looking like, I don't know, like it's 1880 or something. She doesn't need a dress all the way down to her ankles. She's 3. So I put in an extra wide hem. So it's probably closer to the 2T length, but it's a 3T size. So this is one of them with a little origami pockets. I debated on whether or not I should actually do the front placket, and part of me wishes I hadn't, but it is really cute. I actually did the buttonholes and all. I also thought about, well, I'll just sew on buttons and it'll be adorable. But I did the buttonholes and all. Just decided to go for it, go all in on these, and it's adorable. So there's the first one with a little tiny cranky stars, and there's a little few happy stars, but mostly they're a little cranky. And then I also made this one, which is little snips everywhere. Yeah, so super fun pattern. It definitely is a little bit more detailed than I expected. I cut it out on Saturday, maybe Friday. I can't remember now. I think it was Saturday. And I was like, oh, this will be really fun and fast, and I'll get it all done and before the weekend's over during nap time. And I was still working on it this past week. Even though it was 2 of them, there are so many steps. The Oliver Ness patterns are really well written, but they're also really involved. They're not a quick, like a pillowcase dress. It's not that. So, yeah, it took a little bit longer, but I think it was worth it. Liesl hasn't worn them yet. I just sewed these buttons on yesterday. I think I actually sewed both buttons on yesterday. It's terrible that I can't remember what happened 24 hours ago. But both fabrics are Rashida Coleman Hale's paper cuts line for cotton and steel, and the fabric base is unbleached quilting cotton, and it has a really nice weight to it. I don't love quilting cottons that are really light or really silky. I like something that's a little bit heavier. I'm usually not using quilting cotton for clothes for myself. Maybe if I was making shirts or something for myself out of them, I would feel differently. But for quilting or for Liesl's clothes, I like them to have a little bit more weight to them, just because I always feel like she's a toddler. She needs to have something that's a little bit less destructible. And these are great, especially for fall. They're not too heavy. They're not so light that I'm afraid that like the skirt's going to flip up if it's windy or anything. She can wear leggings under them. My friend Elizabeth suggested that option, which is a really good idea. The pockets don't flip too far open. I don't know. It's really, really cute. I'm hoping that she wears them. She has been in kind of a mood lately, but once the weather turns, she's not going to be able to wear her little knit dresses anymore. So she's going to have to figure it out. But I did buy, Old Navy had a sale a couple weeks ago, and they had just like plain t-shirts in all different colors for $4. So I stocked up on those knowing that I was going to make these skirts. So she has a bunch of coordinating colors that she can choose from when we get dressed in the morning. I also am still working on that pile behind me. It's shrinking a little bit. There's my cat next to it for scale. I need to finish the geranium dresses. Maybe I'll do that this weekend during nap time, because I only have 2 more left, and then they're done. And I don't have to worry about it anymore until spring when I want to make new ones. And then I have a few after school dresses, that pattern by Oliver Ness, and just a few other things that I have stacked up over there. But unfortunately, it's still really hot here. It's in the 90s every day, and it's supposed to be for the next week. Keep forgetting what day it is because it's just so hot. We're usually a little bit cooler at this time. God, it's hot. Like 96 every day. It's terrible. So I don't really see any rush into making her like her jacket pattern or long sleeve shirts or long sleeve dresses, because she's probably not going to be able to wear them for a few more weeks. So I definitely should finish up anything short sleeved, anything that she can wear now first, and then move to winter and summer things, or fall and winter, not winter and summer. And then I've pretty much given up on making anything for myself just because time is running out. Rhinebeck will be here before we know it. It's less than 2 months away, and I have so much going on with Liesl, and I'm just finding that I don't have as much time to sew as I used to. Work is crazy. Liesl's crazy. Nick's working a lot, so it's a constant juggling act. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir to many of you, where it's like, yeah, everything is busy all the time. I get it. but it's hard when you go from having a lot of time and you're churning out things very quickly to being too tired to even pick up your knitting needles at night. That's not a fun feeling. So hopefully things change soon. I would like to get a couple things done for Rhinebeck or for fall and winter. If not, fabric doesn't go bad, so it can sit in my stash, I guess. I did buy a couple things from Ann Taylor Loft this morning. Does anybody still call it Ann Taylor Loft? Maybe it's just Loft, because they're having a Labor Day sale, and I was like, well, I'm never going to get around to making a shirt dress, or what else did I buy? A couple tees and things like that for Rhinebeck, just because I was like, I'm never going to do this. So I'll buy them at 40% off. I know it's fast fashion, and I know I shouldn't support it, but sometimes you have to do what's easiest instead of maybe what's the best. I don't know. I feel so conflicted. I used to be a crazy shopper, and God, I love to shop. And I just don't anymore, and I really dread even like buying things. So it takes a lot for me to buy something, but even after I order something, I think I should have bought something maybe from a better, more conscious brand. I don't know. Do you guys have a struggle too? I feel like I struggle with that constantly. Even this, this is a shirt I picked up at Target yesterday for $8 because I can't make it for that. And I don't want to make it when I can buy it at Target and it's done and it's perfect. But then there's a whole set of like other considerations attached to that, which Nick and I talk about constantly because he's a shopper too. And he says I use the phrase fast fashion too much, but that's what it is. And I read a lot of articles about it and I feel really bad buying it, but I can't stop. I don't know. I guess I just need more hours in the day to actually be able to do things I want to do and make my own clothes or research, companies that maybe would support my ideals more, but I only have so much time and something's got to give, and that's it, unfortunately. So if you have any recommendations for where I could shop, or I actually need shoe recommendations, I'm not necessarily looking for something eco-conscious because I need something really comfortable, and I feel like those two don't always mesh, but I needed some shoes for Rhinebeck. So if there's something that you've worn to Rhinebeck in the past and you're like, yeah, these didn't make my feet hurt, I walked around all day in them, send them my way because I need an idea. It's been a long time since I've walked around that much, and I'm a little worried that the Target shoes I usually buy won't cut it. I think I'll be hurting by the end of the day. So let me know what you guys recommend, and I would love to check them out. So that's about it for me. I hope to have a new project to show you next time. Maybe I'll figure out how to make that shawl that I have going around in my head. I can't shake it, and that's how I know I have to make it, because I just can't. Even after it didn't work out when I swatched it the other day, I'm like, yeah, I gotta figure this out. And I'm not normally that type of person. I'm not a puzzle person. I don't like to figure out how things work. I like to solve problems, but that's about it. So this is a problem I'm trying to solve, I guess. Maybe I'll have that to show. Maybe I'll have something new. I don't know. Maybe I'll have more clothes to show off. Yeah. So I would love to hear what you guys are up to. I hope you have a great weekend. If you're here in the US, I hope you enjoy your Labor Day weekend. I hope it turns to fall soon if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, because I feel like we're all under a heat wave. It's just never ending, not relenting. And yeah, thanks for joining me. Talk to you next time.